right, here we go.
Take
I
one.
think the flash is ready.
Four Blue 832s, all Jawas CBUs, 6,000 mini rounds, drives Charlie underground. We got
we had MJ1 bomb lift machines, and it took two machines to load a plane. One had a hook on it,
A boom.
that would pick them up with a chain off the wagon and bring it over to the MJ1 that I would drive. And it had we had to have a box, homemade box, in order to fit the angle of the wing. And so he'd put on my box, and I'd drive it under the plane and lift it up to about an inch or two from the pylon itself, and then the crew chief would bring it on up with the hand controls and lock it on. And so that's the way things went like that. And we loaded rockets, miniguns, 20 millimeter guns, 500-pound bombs, 750-pound bombs.
250s?
Very rare. But
Okay.
once in a while, it was 250s, but then it would be several of them together. Then at one point, we were using 2,000-pound bomb on the center line. And I got a picture of that. I put it on the internet there.
Is that the one that had the big daisy cutter on it? It's just this massive.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the daisy cutter was a 30-inch tube, and the fuse was out on, and it was loaded with powder. And
Can you explain to the folks what the daisy cutter would do? Because I'm sure people have seen it, but it's that long tube.
Okay.
Why was it there?
all right, so if you take it 30 inches off the ground, that's where the bomb was going to go, and it was going to blow more out than up. And that way you'd cut down trees, you could blow out people, it could do a lot of damage to tanks, trucks, whatever. If a bomb hits the ground, all the way down to the ground, without a daisy cutter, then you're going to have a 45-degree angle all the way around that bomb. And that's all you're going to have other than the concussion. So you do more damage with a daisy cutter. But
They had a fuse on the very end. All the hard bombs had a fuse, and they were probably about this long, and it screwed into the nose of the bomber and the nose of the daisy cutter, and it had a propeller on the front. And there were dials in the front, and your tech order for the day, or that bomb load, told you how to set the settings, and the settings would set the bomb off or start the chain of reaction that would set the bomb off at either a certain altitude or after so many revolutions of this thing after it broke away from the aircraft. And also inside the neck of the fuse, there was a little pellet thing we put in.
Yeah, just about that big, about the size of a quarter.
Yeah, but it's inserted, maybe about 2 inches or an inch long or something like, or maybe a half inch long.
Yeah.
But it inserted, and that was a delay mechanism. Right. And they went from a quarter of a second, I think I remember, up to 3/4 of a second. But you never figured that out. It was all on the tech order to how to set the settings.
What would happen if there was either a prairie fire mission or a SAR where you're loading planes constantly? I mean, that had to be very daunting, because I can't imagine tech orders being, when they were in contact, how did you keep up with that?
You didn't, the MJ1, which was the bomb loading device, we eventually, when you're turning aircraft and trying to turn it in 20 minutes, that got put away. But again, you weren't on those SARs. You weren't generally loading hard bombs.
CBUs.
You were loading the tubular CBUs, rocket pods,
smoke.
the 25-pound or whatever it was, 50-pound or 100-pound white phosphorus green bombs. So those you hand loaded. Anything that was 250 pounds or less, we picked up and muscled it up into the plane, and the guy locked it in. So frag bombs, we did the same way.
All the 20-pounder?
Yep, yep. The ones that had the 6 frag bombs, they were triangular.
And a cluster?
And cluster bombs, yep. So we would, all those we would hand load. So typically on a SAR mission, those are the types of weapons that they would use, and there would be a guy up on the top putting the munitions in a new can of munitions in each of the guns, which was 200 rounds, if I remember right, 180 to 200 rounds, and torquing that munition in until it got to the end of the runway. But as 2 guys would lift it up in, the crew chief would lock the pylon in and put the safety pin in, and you get to the next station, go over to the trailer, grab that munition. You knew which munitions went on certain stations, and for the most part, the CBUs went in the outboard stations. Then there'd be maybe the smaller rocket pod, 7-tubed one, and then maybe a white phosphorus bomb, and then the 19 tube. I can't remember the technical names for those munitions any longer.
LAU.
Yeah, I knew it was an LAU, but I couldn't remember if it was a 3 and a 59 or whatever it was.
I
But
think the 3 was a 7-tube.
oh, okay, and the 59 might have been the 19 tube.
I don't remember that one. But
While you're returning this aircraft,
Yep.
would the pilot stand there? How would he get the communication of this is what's on your rack, this is your load when you're heading out? Because I know there was a very complicated switching mechanism inside, so they would have to know what was on the stations. Would you pass them something, a sheet, or was it?
No, I
just-
think their orders already when they
out,
they already had a frag order
Okay.
that came from when they went to their pre-flight briefing, that they knew what weapons, and these guys knew the weapons better than the weapons guys really,
right.
and knew their capabilities and what have you.
And they had clips that they put on their
Knee.
trousers.
Yeah.
And on that they had notepads, and I'm sure that they carried the card that had what was on what station.
Yep.
Jim George just sent me a bunch of stuff, a box full of things for one of the local museums, and as I was going through, I saw a few of those cards,
Oh,
and I was
okay.
like, oh, this is what, that, all right, I see where that is now. So-
Because when they're in the cockpit, they can't see generally that station to know what's on that particular station.
Well, not only that, on the side of the airplane, you remember the place where it says armament?
plaque.
And you're supposed to write
Yeah,
it?
supposed to-
Nobody ever did.
Nobody,
No.
how can you?
You didn't have time to.
No, you didn't.
No, we were.
So tell them about when the frag changed after you just loaded a plane.
Oh. Yeah.
Download it all and reload it with
Reload
something
it with
else.
something else.
Here comes a trailer. You know, you've just finished the load. Here comes a trailer pulling up from the bomb dump. Well, we've already got this one. Nope, they're changing the frag order. So you had to take all the stuff off that you just loaded, safe it all, defuse it all, and throw it on the trailer and get the stuff off the other trailer. Because something changed that caused the mission to change that required different weapons. And so it wasn't frequent that happened, but it did happen.
It did happen once
Yeah.
in a while.
I've been listening to a lot of the SAR audios, and there'll be somebody in a Kingbird saying, "All right, what do you need now?" And whoever Sandy One is going, "I need NAPE, and I need and they're calling back, and then you could hear this chain going through the audio to where it's got to go, and then it would come all the way back through like 3 or 4 people. Nope, don't have any of that, and you're like, no, we've got to have this. So it was amazing. The communication is what I'm always amazed by. You were probably 100, 200 miles away from where these guys were at any given point. They'd bring the aircraft back, and then you'd be constantly, or you'd be loading whatever you could so that the next group could go.
Well, in my case, we were only about
And NKP,
40
you're right about that. But
40
yeah.
miles from the border.
So yeah, Da Nang was much closer.
Yeah,
Well, I was at Pleiku.
Oh, I'm sorry,
Yeah,
Pleiku.
Pleiku would have been about 40 miles
from the DMZ.
to the Laotian border.
Yeah, there were some close times at NKP that the guys took off.
Yeah.
You hear them coming back. Oh, they must have boarded. And nope.
Nope, they dropped it.
They're just on the other side of the river.
Yep, that happened
Yeah.
occasionally. There were,
Yeah.
you could go down, well, we worked 7 days a week, 12 hours a day.
Right.
And I know my first 73 days, because I kept a chart on the wall, was without a day off. And eventually got a day off and you went downtown just to kind of wander into town and see, okay, what's this really like? You get to the Mekong River and you look across the river at the karsts and the mountains, and like, what the heck is this? I mean, you could see it above the chow hall on the hill.
Yep.
You could see the mountains, and at night when I don't remember if it was a linebacker was going on the B-52s, but you could see some flashes off in the distance.
Them often, yeah.
Yep, see the flashes off in the distance at nighttime, and you could hear the boom, 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 boom.
Yeah.
But
If people have never seen Thailand and Vietnam, that Mekong River is a dividing line.
It is.
And it is such a stark contrast because you see, I look at pictures today and there's people touring NKP and the Confidant and it's this beautiful area.
Oh.
And you look across and it's just a wall of ugly that
It
you're
is.
going into.
it looked, when I first saw it, I said, King Kong lives there.
Yeah, exactly.
King Kong
exactly,
lives there.
Exactly.
That's exactly the first thought that came to my mind when I saw the river and saw the Karst Mountains over there. I said, that's where they had to film King Kong.
Yeah.
Now, whether they did or not, I don't know, but
It's rough.
oh, it's very rough.
After Arnie left and we modernized downtown, they had Monty's Ice Cream Parlor on the Mekong River.
Yeah.
And we'd sit there and have beer and ice cream and see the same thing going on.
Paul, earlier we had talked about a friend of ours who's a pilot, and it was Don Deneen.
Yeah.
And he was discussing how many pounds of ordnance. He figured out how many pounds of ordnance were on just his aircraft. Can you go into that? Because you worked with him a little bit.
Yeah. He sent me a copy of it, in fact. And it was over 1 million pounds that he was able to calculate that was on his plane at one time. I mean, not one time, but I mean over the period of the year. The period of a year that he was there. And he delivered those, yeah. And that's only one plane. And if you figure that we had 21 or 22 planes or so, we always had some in the hangar that were needing engine repairs or something. So it kind of brings your number down close to 15 planes at a time that were flyable. And so those 15 planes got used unless they were broke down and had to have some extra maintenance done to them. But a lot of times, oil and gas put them back up.
I looked over yonder and what did I see? A big green giant coming after me. He was born one morning in the distant plain, buried in the valley so pleasant and green, stood 50 feet tall above the trees. A big, big giant called the Jolly Green. He could cover a mile in a single stride, towering high in all of his pride. He came swiftly through the jungle of steam to answer the call for the Jolly Green. He would answer a call during day or night, never fearing the enemy's might. Through shell and fire, he'd wade right through to complete the task he was asked to do.